When the cameras went live, no one expected Ivanka Trump to strike first. But just minutes into the debate, she leaned forward, locked her eyes on Jasmine Crockett, and dropped a line that cut through the air like a blade. "You've built your entire career on lies and paid outrage. Tell the people who's funding your crusade." The studio fell into a stunned silence, the audience barely breathing, waiting for the clash to ignite. This was not a cautious exchange of ideas. It was an ambush, and Ivanka wanted to make sure everyone watching knew it. Reporters on social media scrambled to clip the moment. Hashtags began to appear within seconds, and suddenly the entire debate was no longer about policy or issues. It was about the attack. The air thickened with tension as panelists shifted in their seats, some leaning in with shock, others shaking their heads, already sensing that the night was about to explode into something unforgettable. Ivanka's opening shot had landed, and the stage was set for Crockett's answer. The debate was billed as a special town hall, broadcast live on one of the nation's biggest networks. On stage sat Ivanka Trump, representing the old guard of political dynasties, polished, composed, but always ready to fight for her family's legacy. Across from her, Jasmine Crockett, the Texas congresswoman whose sharp tongue and fearless approach had already made her a rising star, known for refusing to bow to intimidation. Between them sat the moderator, struggling to maintain order as the atmosphere shifted from tense to electric. Around the table were other panelists, commentators, former officials, and media personalities brought in to weigh the stakes. But the truth was clear. No one was here for them. All eyes were on Ivanka and Crockett. The clash was more than personal, it was symbolic. Ivanka carried the name and aura of Trump power, while Crockett embodied the new wave of challengers, women of color who were unafraid to call out corruption and privilege to their faces. From the very first exchange, the moderator's questions became irrelevant. The crowd in the studio leaned forward, sensing that this wasn't just another primetime debate. It was a showdown. Phones lit up as people live-streamed, capturing every second. The energy was raw, like a courtroom battle being fought in real time before millions. Viewers at home weren't just watching politicians argue, they were watching two worlds collide. Ivanka wasted no time pressing harder. "You posture as if you're some champion of the people," she snapped, her tone sharp. "But what you really are is a political opportunist who feeds off division. You don't build, you destroy. You don't serve truth, you sell narratives." The panelists shifted uncomfortably, and the moderator tried to interject, but Crockett cut through with a voice that carried over the noise. "The difference between me and you, Ivanka, is that I don't hide behind a last name. I don't inherit power. I earn it by telling people the truth you're afraid of." Gasps erupted in the audience. Ivanka stiffened, attempting to fire back. "Truth! You wouldn't know truth if it stood right in front of you. You've twisted facts, you've smeared my family. And now you're trying to play the martyr on national TV. The American people see right through it." Crockett leaned forward, her eyes unflinching. "The American people see something very clearly tonight. They see a Trump who thinks intimidation can silence questions. But let me remind you, intimidation only works when someone is scared. And I'm not scared of you, or your father, or the empire you're desperately trying to protect." The studio audience exploded with applause, the sound clashing with boos from Ivanka loyalists. Social media lit up instantly, clips of the exchange shot across TikTok and Twitter, with commentators scrambling to analyze every word. The panelists tried to join in, but they were drowned out. The night no longer belonged to the moderator, the network, or even the agenda. It belonged to the fight between Ivanka and Jasmine. The tension only grew heavier. Every sentence felt like a blow, every rebuttal like a counterpunch. Both women knew millions were watching, and neither was ready to step back. What began as a debate had become a duel, and the world was hanging on every word. Ivanka raised her voice, her composure starting to crack. "You're nothing but noise, Jasmine. You scream, you accuse, but you've never built anything that lasts. My family may be hated, but at least we've created something real. You—" Before she could finish, Crockett cut her off with a clapback so sharp it stopped the entire room cold. "Created? You mean created scandals, bankruptcies, and a trail of lies so long America can't even count them? The only thing your family ever built was a brand of corruption. and tonight it's collapsing under its own weight. The words hit like a thunderclap. The panel went silent. The moderator froze. Even Ivanka's practiced smile faltered. For a long second, no one in the studio dared to move. The shock was that heavy. Then the audience erupted. Some cheered so loudly it drowned out the microphones, while others shouted in disbelief. Hashtags like #Clapback of the year and #Crockett vs Ivanka began trending within minutes. Clips replayed on countless live streams, and commentators scrambled to frame what had just happened. Ivanka opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. For the first time, her confidence seemed to desert her. The silence from her corner was louder than any counterattack she could have made. The camera zoomed in on Crockett, who sat firm, steady, and unshaken. Her words had landed, and everyone knew it. That single exchange defined the night. It wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a declaration, a turning point. Crockett hadn't just defended herself. She had dismantled Ivanka's entire argument with one devastating strike. And the fact that the panel was left speechless said everything. The room was still trembling from Crockett's devastating clapback when the moderator finally tried to steer the discussion back to policy, but it was pointless. The debate had already crossed the line into something far larger than the night's agenda. Every camera, every microphone, every viewer was locked on the fallout between Ivanka Trump and Jasmine Crockett. What had begun as an exchange of political talking points had transformed into a raw clash of power, truth, and legacy. Ivanka tried to recover, her tone measured but shaky. "You can hurl insults all you want, Jasmine, but this country doesn't need anger, it needs vision. And no matter what you say, people still trust my family more than they'll ever trust you." But Crockett didn't let her off the hook. She leaned in with the final stroke. Trust. The only thing America has learned to trust about the Trumps is that there's always another lie waiting. Tonight, you thought you could bury me under your father's shadow. But shadows vanish when the light shines. And right now, the truth is shining too bright for you to hide. The crowd roared. Applause thundered through the studio, echoing like a wave that refused to die down. Even the panelists, stunned into silence minutes before, exchanged glances that said it all. This was a historic moment. Social media exploded with commentary, memes, live polls, and instant reaction videos. Within 10 minutes, hashtags connected to the debate topped global trends. TikTok feeds filled with clips of Crockett's fiery words. Twitter timelines became battlefields, with one side hailing her as a fearless warrior, the other accusing her of crossing a line. News networks interrupted regular programming to replay the highlight again and again. On CNN, commentators declared it the most memorable debate moment of the year. On Fox, analysts scrambled to reframe Ivanka's silence as strategic restraint. But no spin could erase the visual. Ivanka Trump, heir to the most controversial political dynasty of the century, left speechless by a congresswoman who refused to be intimidated. By the next morning, late-night shows were already weaving the exchange into their monologues. Editorials framed it as more than entertainment. It was a turning point in the cultural battle over truth, privilege, and accountability. Crockett's words were not just a rebuttal. They became a rallying cry for those who felt silenced, dismissed, or overshadowed by the weight of political dynasties. For Ivanka, the damage was immediate. Clips of her faltering response circulated endlessly, labeled with captions like "Ivanka stunned" and "Trump dynasty shaken." What was meant to be her moment to defend the family name had spiraled into a defining humiliation. Her allies rushed to her defense, but their statements only fueled more coverage, more debate, more reminders of the night she lost control of the narrative. And for Jasmine Crockett, the night was transformative. She had not just survived an attack, she had turned it into a weapon, striking with precision and leaving her opponent exposed. Supporters called her the voice of the future, the leader unafraid to confront power in its rawest form. Her words were replayed at rallies, quoted on posters, and echoed across podcasts and interviews. The final message was clear. The clash was not just between two women, but between two eras. Ivanka symbolized the entrenched power of a dynasty built on name recognition, wealth, and media spectacle. Crockett represented the defiance of a new generation, armed not with money or legacy, but with the willingness to speak truth to power, even when the cameras are rolling and the stakes are crushing. In that debate, America witnessed more than an argument. It witnessed a collision of visions for the country's future. And when the dust settled, only one line remained etched in memory, the clapback that left Ivanka Trump silent, and a nation buzzing with the feeling that something had just shifted.